Today we're going to be comparing McKee's 914 Rinseless Wash. It is a cleaning product. And we're going to be comparing Feyenlab Pure Rinseless Wash. It is also a cleaning product. They both work as rinseless washes, waterless washes, clay lubes, paint, prep. So I'm going to test these things. McKee's waterless wash dilution ratio is 1 ounce of product into 128 ounces of water. I cut it into 1/4 and I only used 32 ounces of water. Feyenlab dilution ratio for waterless wash is 1 ounce into 256 ounces of water. I cut it into 1/8 and I used it in 32 ounces of water. Feyenlab 1 liter is almost $19, while McKee's 914 16 ounces is about $15. The difference in dilution ratios is Feyenlab will yield you double the product. Let's get started with the Feyenlab. 32 ounces of water with 1/8 ounce of product. Sprayed on liberally. It has very little smell to it. As I wipe this away, I notice the dirt it cleans off. It is a little bit tacky, but there is no streaking. It gives a nice shine. It's a pretty simple product to use. Okay, it's time for the other side with McKee's 914. 32 ounces of water, 1/4 of an ounce of product, sprayed on liberally. It has a nice bubblegum scent to it, so it's more enjoyable as you're using it. And I noticed that this is less viscous than the Feyenlab, and it wipes off easier than the Feyenlab. It also leaves a nice shine as well, and it takes the dirt off just as easily as the Feyenlab. At this point, I noticed both did a good job. I'm trying to feel if there's any difference in slickness, and they both feel pretty good. I would say if I had to split hairs that the McKee side is just a tad bit slicker, and the difference is at this point that the Feyenlab will yield you twice the product. So I'm going to use these waxes and polish as my paint prep test. After much research, I found that Feyenlab's dilution ratio does not change, while the McKee's 914 changes drastically, as it is supposed to be used 8 ounces of water to 1 ounce of product. At this dilution ratio, you can see how McKee's is a lot more soapy, and Feyenlab is also soapy, but not like McKee's. Okay, well, let's get it on. We're going to start with the Shoals W6 Plus wax. We'll apply it to both sides of the car, relatively same spots. Next up, we're going to use Chemical Guy's Black Light, and we'll do the same thing. We're going to apply it to both sides of the car in relatively the same areas. All right, now let's come back with something a little stronger, I think. The Colonite 845 Insulator Wax. And we're also going to apply it to both sides of the car in relatively the same areas. So we put the video in high speed and let them sit on there a little while. and let's see what happens when we try to take it off. All right, let's get started on the right side with the McKee's 914, diluted 8 ounces of water with 1 ounce of product now for the paint prep dilution. It did a nice job at taking off the wax. At this point, I wanted to feel it and see if I could feel any wax there, and it felt pretty smooth, pretty slick. It didn't feel like if it had left wax. If it did, it wasn't much. Now let's move on to the other side. As stated before, I could not find any directions in changing the dilution ratios on paint prep for Feyenlab, so I used it with the same dilution ratio as before. That's 32 ounces of water and 1/8 of an ounce of product. Once again, it removed all the waxes nicely, and it is a more viscous product, as you can see, but it will dry in the air and it will not leave any streaks. So here I'm also feeling if it left any wax behind, and I don't feel any wax. As a matter of fact, it feels less slick than the 914 side. I'm not saying that it cleaned better, but it is less slick. So either it took all the wax off, or 914 has a slicker feel to it. And it's definitely noticeable at this point. Finally, I got some Car Pro Reflect, and I put it on a pad with the Adams SK Micro Polisher, and I did a little polishing area, and I wanted to see how this will come out in being removed afterward. All right, now let's do the same thing on the other side and polish it in. Let it sit for a little bit and we'll remove it. All right, here we go. It's the McKee's 914 side. Sprayed on, wiped off, removed no problem. Dries on its own with no streaks. Now to the Feyenlab side, sprayed on, wiped off, no problem. Also removed with no streaks. At this point, my towels are getting saturated, so I needed to get a second dry towel and go over them. See how it feels. Once again, the Feyenlab side is definitely cleaner feeling, while the 914 side, where I polished, is cleaner feeling, but towards the bottom is slicker. So I'm not sure what to think about this. All right, let's spray a little water on here and see what the beads look like. See how the water reacts on the paint with these two waterless wash applications. All in all, they seem to be pretty similar. Feyenlab side, not so circular as the 914 side, but very similar. in the end, after applying everything and removing everything, both sides look good. They both feel clean. The 914 side, McKee's, is a tad bit slicker. Do I trust that they are coating prep products? Maybe. I'm not sure on that. But they did do a good job at cleaning the paint. How do I feel about these products? Well, in the smaller sizes, you're going to get more concentrate with the Feyenlab. But once you get up into the 4 liter and 5 liter range, then the McKee's is a lot better deal. But remember, you get twice the yield in the Feyenlab, so you'll have to do the figuring on that. Both products did a great job. I liked both products. They were both easy to use, very similar. I think you should definitely have them in your arsenal, and I would definitely be stocking either of them, if not both of them, in my arsenal. Thanks for watching.